G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Joshin-Strike. Today we've got another long-serving servant. Servant or master of the AU esports scene. And as Monitor refers to him as an old man, and as MJ refers to him as who? But we've got EmJaeCaer, the CEO of Mindfreak or owner or supreme overlord. What's your favorite title?
MJ. You can just call me MJ. I don't like titles. I'm not a title person. Prefer just a name.
So when you go into a form and it says title, you just like cross out the letter, cross out the form.
The marketing people make me write CEO, but that's for day job. I refuse to accept it in any other context.
So you're not one of those people that have like every single degree in your email tag. He's like BCom, B Law, B Diploma of Financial Advising.
I am confident in my own identity that I don't need a title to go with it. I'm comfortable being me.
Mm-hmm. So you just type me instead of just your name, just me.
Maybe not that level of arrogance, but no, look, I honestly, I'm a very human-focused person, and so if you need a title to either feel good about yourself or whatever else, it just doesn't work for me. The type of people I work with are the people who are too busy getting the job done to care what their job title is. That would be where we're going. But we're now getting into completely different conversation than probably where we need to go.
Oh, exactly. It's probably a bit of an introduction discussion, have a bit of fun. But, with esports overall, where did you start off in esports? Because you've been in the esports industry for 12 years. And trying to find where you started is, back in the prehistoric times for esports, basically.
Oh, it was early cybergamer.
Yep.
Actually. When the forums are actually semi-useful. What was I doing? Do
we read the Bible to see what you were doing?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Dude, I'm just as old, okay?
I was running a business. I'd started another business, and it was doing okay. And I thought, what's the point of running IT businesses? What I like is video games. And I was looking at, and I think it was, when did Go launch? CSGO. When did that launch? 2012?
Yeah, 2012. Yep. I remember the first year of it, and everyone complaining about it.
Yeah, because I remember everyone bitching about, because Source didn't really get enough chance to cook. So people weren't pining for Source. They were still pining for 1.6. It was always a thing. So it was interesting that. But I just remember looking at a lot of the titles. I'd always been an online person, always been on the internet. I don't know if anyone remembers Slashdot or GeoCities.
Yep, I do remember that. Back in the day.
That old stuff. That was the stuff I was running around with. So video games were definitely available. The big thing I was in was Doom custom maps. That was always a lot of my fun. I was always the LAN guy around my friendship group because I owned a 16-port Switch.
Yep.
So we'd all just rock up to someone's house. I'd bring all the cables and the Switch and the CD folder full of pirate games.
Yep.
And they would all just install shit, and it would be Brood War, or it would be Unreal Tournament, or it would be some sort of shit.
Brood War's so good. I guess say of Doom in particular, did you ever get into Doom speedrunning? Because obviously, I remember watching a few videos with Carl Jobs and stuff like that.
I didn't really know much about speedrunning because I wasn't really a YouTube person in that era. I was more in a community or whatever else. So anyway, back to where we were, like 2011, 2012. I decided I actually wanted to help or get involved with esports. And so I was looking for things. I found Cybergamer's website. I found their forums. And I literally posted. And I think you can, if you have the right amount of Google Foo or archive, you can find my post. But basically I said, I'm a business dude. Want to support kids. I want to look at like scholarships or providing funds to be able to help people become, recognize rookies, promote them, and do that sort of thing. And the post was reasonably well accepted. People like good on you and whatever else. And I got a few DMs, and I bought a computer for a kid who was really struggling. And I gave another person some money which allowed them to update graphics cards. They're just really minor targeted stuff back around 2011, 2012. But I was in the cyber gamer sort of scene, and I was trying to vet and do my due diligence, but it was more just trying to find where things were. And then I got this DM from via Cybergamer internal message from a guy called Arn Trin. And if you know your League of Legends, he went by the name of Minky Whale and was involved with this little 5 Kids in a Dream organization called Legacy Esports, which essentially at the time was just a little protest org because they hated AV, if you remember Avantgarde. And they were the Avant team, but they hated Avant for various reasons. So they left Avant because they won an international trip, and the Riot Australian office kind of aided and abetted them breaching their contract and helping them start Legacy. And so they went off to Gamescom Germany as the Australian team in Riot Games, came back, and suddenly everything was hard. And their nominal manager was Mitch Leslie, Uber Shouts. If you know from casting circles. And Mitch had just landed this really interesting casting gig with Wargaming to cast World of Tanks and live in Germany. So he was pissing off. They had a sponsorship with Asus, but it was a shitty sponsorship. And they had no idea what they were doing. And Arntrin saw me on this forum and said, "Hey, can you help us?" And I got into a TeamSpeak call with them because everything was TeamSpeak back then. And I chatted with this guy called Tim Carbon Wendell.
Which is who ran LCO.
And they, I don't know, I must have impressed them. So I basically, because they more or less just handed me the organization. And I remember sitting down in a TeamSpeak with a whole bunch of guys, Choo Choos and Tallywacker and all these sort of things. I said, "What's the dream?" And they said, "Oh, we'd love to have a gaming house." So we're talking 2014 at this point.
Post-housing boom. Oh, God.
Yeah, 2014. And they said, "Oh, we really like a gaming house. Like, we would just like to be able to live somewhere and focus on games, and how's it going to work?" And I went, "Well, at the moment, your current sponsorships, you get a keyboard a quarter and nothing else. And they haven't given you a keyboard for the last 2 quarters." So you got given a keyboard 6 months ago, and that was the deal.
Not keeping track of creditors, mate. That's a big red flag.
No. So I sat down with the Asus guy, traveled to Sydney, chatting, arm wrestled with them, and we got 5 figures of cash.
Oh, that's
we got
good.
5 figures of cash. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're going to do X." And they basically said, you're going to sponsor the Asus gaming house for Legacy Esports. And we rented the very, very, very first, we started this house in a particular place in Lidcombe, which became known as Esports location in Sydney. And we basically funded it because the players, we covered rent, we covered food. And the players basically used their mandatory salary / support from Riot, plus the Asus money, plus me or whatever else. And they were the first, normally they were going to be the first gaming house. There was technically some shitty AV house that involved far too much urine that I won't go into as a story. But that did exist a couple of years prior. But what happened is another org, I don't know if you remember the name, Hellions.
No, never heard of them.
They were like a League of Legends org for like 1 season. And because they knew we were doing it, they shoved 9 people in a 2-bedroom apartment in one of the large high-rise apartments in Olympic Park. So, violating every single rental agreement they had. But they technically moved in and turned on before we did. So technically, strictly by bodies on the ground, Hellions had the first esports of the modern era. But for the first one where Asus threw a party, we had press, we had PR releases, we had this giant wrap. They put a banner wrap around the front of the house, which made the neighbors very fucking confused. And we had a big party, and they lived there, and I furnished the place. I rented a fridge for them. Like, I fitted it all out, got it all sorted out the network, sorted out the internet, out all of this sort of shit. But more or less what that essentially cemented me in is They trusted me. I more or less controlled Legacy Esports at that point. I diversified into Rocket League, Counter-Strike, fucking Smite, StarCraft. Yeah, go on.
What esports do you like the most that you went into, like, out of all of them in particular, when you were starting at Legacy?
I always had a weak spot for StarCraft because I played it a lot more.
I have a weak spot for it too. Like, what race do you play, okay?
Oh, no, I'm Terran. I'm vanilla as fuck.
So vanilla that you play Siege Tanks, you play mech, I assume? The Siege Tanks, just, still early but surely.
No, that's Battlecruiser, man. That's what I'm doing.
There we go.
Like, Mass Battlecruiser and Yamada Cannon. That's what I'm fucking doing.
Exactly.
It's like I'd be sitting there, my base is fucking wrecked, and I'm just 6 Battlecruisers and a dream sniping shit off with Yamato Cannon energy. That was my idea of a good land time.
As long as you got...
But yeah, StarCraft I like. I guess the problem I had with League of Legends, which I did play a lot of back then, is that when you were involved with literal professionals who traveled to, world events, you quickly learned how shit you were at the game.
Okay, yeah.
And so it became hard to appreciate it. I loved watching it. Always loved watching League of Legends. But I lost the appetite to play it pretty quickly because I knew every mistake I made and just how bad that mistake was. And so that was one of the penalties of being involved in management, I guess.
So what was the first international event that you went to with Legacy?
Ooh.
And where was it in particular? So you had Gamescom.
Would have been the Rift Rivals event.
Yep.
In Vietnam, where we got absolutely rolled by Gigabyte Marines.
That's not good. Who was on the team back then?
Levi, that Levi, who's still playing today.
Yep. And
if you remember the meme, because you'll know Sin Juves. If you remember Brandon, who was Juves on Sin Gaming and in other sort of things.
Yep.
The one thing is that he outsmited Levi and stole Baron from them. And he was very proud of that as the thing that he did. But that event was a really good event. That was a Riot Games event. They have a reasonably large wallet. But that Rift Rivals event in Vietnam, which I want to say was 2016, was that? The CSGO team went to DreamHack Winter, where they...
Shipping, there we go, love it.
I didn't get to go because there was one of my extended family got cancer. And by the time it was a mother-in-law type thing. And it was just... I can't abandon my wife while she's dealing with her mum having cancer. And so I guess I'm not going to DreamHack Winter with the CS team, which really fucking sucked. But I funded all of that. That was a very weird thing. That was where I quickly learnt that Counter-Strike, you could easily blow $20,000, $30,000 just sending a single team to the other side of the world.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but again, it was cool because they were playing Virtus Pro in the biceps era. These were dudes that would look like they would bench press my team, and I had fucking APUC on my team.
Who was on that CS team?
That was Sybe. I want to say Sybe. SIBE.
We got APUC. This is the Animal Squad team. Did they get picked up by Winter Fox after that?
Team.
Yep.
Yeah, Animal Squad team. You could probably find this on a wiki. It'll definitely be under Legacy Esports. We got 10 rounds off in their Prime Virtus Pro. So I'll definitely claim...
Hang on. First of all, was it before the Mercedes or after the Mercedes? Very important.
I don't know what you mean. You're going to have to give me some more context.
Taz got a Mercedes for winning the major. Was it pre the Mercedes or after the Mercedes?
I'm going to type in DreamHack Winter. It was what was the tournament? It was
It's open, isn't it? No, it'll be DreamHack Open. It'll be DreamHack. It's a ESL event, isn't it? Or was it before they got forcibly merged?
Aces League 2015 Stage 3 Finals.
Okay.
I think.
Let's see if we can find that, okay? We'll see if we can...
There it is. I found the page. I'm going to put it into Twitch chat for you and all there. So this was technically, other than the League of Legends team, the first time Legacy Esports was on the world stage, and that was
Ooh.
Moku, Mizu, Raz, Ofnu, Buster, and Saib.
We got some good talent there as well. You got Richard.
Moku,
You got
Moku
Anders,
was
DDK, Semler.
Moku was the temporary name APOC had because he didn't want to tarnish the name APOC had from the previous edition of Counter-Strike earlier. So he
Okay.
was thinking he might use the name. So Moku is APOC.
Yep. And then you got Ofnu. Oh
Not,
jeez.
yeah, look, I won't comment about Ofnu.
Dude,
For you.
I rated of Ofnu in WoW, and I play a Holy Paladin. So I used what I did have previously. So one of the bosses you have to heal Beacon of Light off the pet to the boss, but Ofnu named his pet fucking Ofnu. So I kept targeting him instead of his pet that I needed to heal, and it tilted me off the face of the planet. Okay, but that's how I know Ofnu from WoW because I've rated with him.
Yeah, so that was a time. That was back in 2015 when we did that. That was the CS team. I would have loved to have gone to that event, but that was life didn't turn out that way. Shortly after that, I think we had Sniper potentially come in. If you remember, there was Havoc.
Yep. I do remember him as well.
Running around in that time. There was a whole lot. Oh boy, those were days. Now I'm looking at the Dizzy, Matt CD, Sonic team with Nikez. Then there was the Lightstep, Chrysaway, Dioxide, Spikes, and Gots. Do you remember Gots?
No.
Were you around when Gotsalon was around? Oh, these were names. This was back in the time where every year we thought CS was dead, and then it somehow kept surviving. But yeah, no, I enjoyed that. So what was our original question? International events. So
we've had League, we've had CS.
What was the first? Trying to remember an international event that I otherwise went on. And honestly, I can't remember because it was like, I think COVID's eaten part of my brain and my sense of time is screwed up.
Oh, yeah, pretty much same. Like, I just, like, the last event I went to before COVID was DreamHack Leipzig when Big like, slaughtered everyone, including Renegades, after Renegades beat Mad Lions with London in it.
Yeah, so at the time, I was probably more interested in the fact that there were Australian events on. Like, the first IEM Sydney was 2018.
Yep, it would have been around. I was 17. I'm thinking it's for some. No, it's 17. That's right, because it was the one that Elshgar didn't do, and I asked him about that.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about that is we absolutely Stephen Bradbury. I don't even know if Stephen Bradbury had not fallen over by that point. But if you remember,
so is that pre-Bradbury? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we did Stephen Bradbury, whether he had actually won his gold medal yet. But what happened is in the open qualifier, we beat Tainted Minds, which was a really big fucking deal.
Yep.
But we ended up not beating Chiefs, which was, of course, the preeminent Counter-Strike team at that time. And then what essentially happened is one of the Russian teams or one of the other teams couldn't get a visa, and we were the highest Australian team. And I remember Nick Babir, Tainted Sab, just being really fucking salty on Twitter because they were clearly the number 2 team. And we had just had this one breakout open qualifier where we'd beaten them, but we were second ranked in the qualifier. So we got this full IEM Sydney experience, like the hotels, they named, the personalized cards in your hotel, personalized jackets and everything. Like it was a good time. So that was 2017.
No, it's 2018 actually. It was the second one. It was 2018. I just figured out just then.
Really? Okay, so let me have a look. I'm trying to navigate Wikipedia, and it is...
No, I've got it here. I've got it here for you, okay? I've got you. Jeez, 5 Australian teams. Greyhound, Chiefs, Order, Legacy, and Renegades.
When was this? Sorry?
So 2018, IEM Sydney. Did any Oceanic teams actually make it through, other than like Renegades getting really, really close?
This doesn't sound right. Why doesn't this sound right?
I was gonna say because that's the only IEM Sydney that Legacy made.
Was it 2018?
Yeah, it was 2018 because you guys didn't make 2017. It was Chefs and I love calling them the Chefs.
Oh, I said they were the So the interesting part is that, yeah, there was other stuff going. So I remember we had a StarCraft team at IEM Sydney. We had a Smite thing at
Yeah.
IEM Sydney.
How was
Um,
Smite as an esport? Like, was it just like how
it
was it?
was it was good until it wasn't. The publisher was trying to do work, and
Yeah.
they were putting a reasonable amount of money into Australia, but it was managed by a particular agency that was definitely making more money than the orgs and the players were by quite a sizable margin.
Okay.
And which I won't go into too much detail because they're still working in the industry. But they would do these events and whatever else, and it would be good. So we'd have interview parties. We'd always have a LAN final. There'd be 2 trips a year overseas. Like it was a good sort of thing that set up, and so there was quite a reasonably robust Smite scene. Uh, when we expanded into Smite, I got convinced to pick up a team that had never lost a game online. They were like 13-1 or something, like just really stupidly good results. But they're all young kids, and
Yeah.
they said they need someone to help them look after it. So I brought them to LAN, and they got absolutely rolled 0-3 because they just never had lights in their face, never played in anywhere other than their bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was a really good, interesting learning experience on these kids, and I say kids in the most loving affection. They needed a lot more support, training, professional development to actually be good on LAN, and just the real difference between LAN performance and online performance. Because it was really, really interesting just to see how they go. Now, those players, after we, boot camped them and everything, they went on to become some of the best players in the country and played on other teams and, were dominating. But it was interesting me just to have that sort of learning experience. Anyway, where are we? I feel like we're just wandering around.
No, we're wondering. We're still in 2016. We're still in 2016. I was gonna say, is that what inspired you to like get a lot of these younger kids, in particular, who want to become into esports, like to different teams internationally, and whatnot? Because you said there's multiple times of your recent team, of course, Na'Vi. Obviously your Mindfreak team go to Na'Vi, and for some reason I think the second team went to Na'Vi, but I'm not even too sure anymore where they went. But they had a
no.
They went to Halo Worlds. That's right.
Yeah, so there's 2 dynamics. One, I want to pick the challengers. I want to pick the underdogs. I want to pick the people that are trying to take down number 1. That feels more useful to me. There are a lot of people who are happy to splash cash and buy the best team. That's never what I've wanted to do. And I've had options to pick up best team that I've passed because it's like, wow, just for money, I can have you. Well, that's fine, but that means that the only benefit to me as a manager, the only benefit to supporting everything is I have a bank account balance. That's no value. Give me the second best team and let me do mentoring, let me do counseling, let me bring in performance psychologists, let me bring in boot camps, let me bring in coaches, let me do my job. And then let's see you get better, because then I'm actually making a difference. And we're either doing 2 things. We're either going to take off number 1's crown, or we're going to challenge number 1 and keep him honest.
Yep.
From that point of view, which then provides more of a focus for the scene, because you really need, like, in my mind, 4 top teams, 8 solidly performing teams, and you've got a real sort of everyone sharpening each other. There's regular scrims, there's enough practice going on, and I noticed that, like in League of Legends, when we had 8 funded teams, you could always get a scrim. There was always shits going on. In CS:GO, when the scene's a bit healthier, and you've had peaks and troughs. When you've got that 4 to 8 teams, you've got teams to scrim, and there's reasonably good scrims, irrespective of what FlyQuest think about there being 0 ability to scrim. Bastards just need to get into a fucking server and play.
Is that some mind freak don't get to scrim FlyQuest kind of thing? Is that what I'm hearing here?
No comment, Mr. Only Josh.
I'm only just pulling your leg, mate. I'm only just pulling your leg. No, so I've noticed this overall. What do you feel like is the best epitome of that building sort of thing that you've done with multiple teams? Like, what do you think is the perfect team that everything just flowed together and you're proud of that building at the end of it, that beautiful sandcastle at the end of it?
Well, to give you an idea, again, with the League of Legends team, which is where we started, and I took 5 kids who were getting a keyboard a quarter. Okay, we built it up to the point that we were in our own gaming house. The players had really cool personalized gaming PCs.
Mhm.
They were on they had their face and their uniform plastered all over shopping setups and that point of view. Like they were successful. Then we got bought by the fucking Adelaide Crows.
Ooh, the Camrys. You got bought by them.
Yeah, so the AFL Adelaide Crows bought the team, and the players, because I never had an ownership stake. Very happy with that. I was just a steward and mentor for that sort of setup. But the players got housing deposit money at the time, you know, from out of that purchase. They got solid 5 figures.
Shit.
Out of that. Solid 5 figures is probably not housing deposit money anymore, but you know.
Yeah, I get the point. Yeah. So how was that? Like, you know, how did that even happen? Like with the Adelaide Crows, like, did they come up and be like, "Yo, we saw Essendon got an esports team. Can we have yours?"
So, Riot Games was trying to get all the kids out of LOL. Okay, so if you remember, there were a number of not particularly mature esports owners running around, and so they were doing things where they were trying to do matchmaking between investors and different groups to basically take over from the kids, which was largely happening. That's where Dave Harris came from. He was basically
who's Dave Harris? Sorry,
no comment. Dave Harris, who Guinevere Capital. He purchased Direwolves for.
I was going to say that.
No comment. I'm going to get myself in trouble with this one. This is
no. Basically, all you can do, MJ, is just if you got a character that comes in, be like, "Oh yeah, he's the owner of Direwolves." Just don't worry, okay? We're not being like, you know, Eddie Azzy, best observer ever.
So we Legacy Esports took a number of meetings with investors, and I shot them all down because they were all shitheads. They were all like, "Give me your thing for free, and I promise to spend future money that will potentially benefit you." And I'm like, "Benefit them how?" "Oh, there'll be opportunities." And I'm like,
buzzword. Fuck off.
But there's a very, very important secret here. Tim Carbon-Wendell is an Adelaide Crows fan, a mad Crows fan, and his whole family is. So
can you imagine conversations between him and Quick Draw when you try to get Fury in? You're a Port Adelaide supporter. Fuck off.
So when the sort of meeting sort of initially happened with the Adelaide Crows, he was so fucking desperate for it. Like we had meetings trying to make sure our financials looked right. We were trying to present things in the best way, and a whole bunch of things were going on. And basically they agreed to buy. I got them to convince to go for cash. They got cash. It worked out well.
Yep.
And then it was great. I got to then work with Nigel Smart, who was the COO. I got to work with Andrew Fagan, who was the CEO. Yep. Got to meet a young guy called Brad Manuel, which you may know from other marketing sources these days, but he was the sales guy for commercialization at the Adelaide Crows, and they were good years.
Do you have a picture with them? So you could basically say, you know, you've got a picture of Andrew Fagan. You could be like, "There's one premiership between myself and him."
No. Look, it was, and again, the thing I respected the Adelaide Crows for is that they were good at business. They were good at sports business.
Yep.
Irrespective of anything else, they were good at sports business. And it was a good time. And it was going really, really great until we got utterly sodomized by COVID, which blew it all apart.
Yeah.
And then due to, I don't know, one Adelaide Crows footballer putting drugs up his nose, another Adelaide Crows footballer saying racist shit, they heard that lost on a sponsor. And a bunch of Adelaide Crows footballers that broke COVID lockdown curfews and were partying on the town or whatever else. They ended up with this whole series of dramas, which didn't affect esports. Esports were great. We were having a great time. If you remember Legacy Esports in 2021, we had like the greatest run internationally at League of Legends. We were like beating a China team from making it out of wildcards.
That's insane. Yeah.
And like, there's no way we're beating a China team, but we literally, you know, even got a map off them type sort of stuff. But then essentially the board went, "We're not winning flags and there's all this scandal. We need to change management, bring in new discipline and not be distracted with all of these non-football things. Got to keep our eye on the ball, you know, Josh." eye on the ball, win some
And
flags, play some football,
and
and they
Adelaide
fucked everything.
and Adelaide have never been in the final since.
Never been any good. They fired Nigel Smart. They fired Andrew Fagan. They replaced half the board. They sold off all of the
Yeah.
esports assets. If you remember, we had quite a successful high school league running at the time.
Yep.
They fucked that off too and sold that for a fucking song to Dave Harris. And then they sold Legacy Esports to fucking Kanga for way too much money.
Hey, don't be mean to my boy Hayes and Persian like that, okay? Persian's still playing Path of Exile to get money.
Look, I'm trying to break Path of Exile for you, man, but that man should not be in the industry. That's the thing. Anyway, so
you're just mad about Persian's skills of farming, okay? No, but anyways, let's go on, man.
Fine, that's fine. But there's a level of you need to understand where your capacities are, and
exactly.
that org has never understood that. They've always dreamed they could be bigger, but it takes actual business knowledge to know that shit, and they've never had it. And I've watched them flounder around for years and going, God, I would have bought Legacy and killed it just to prevent the shit that they do with it now. Fucking talent agency. Goddamn. Anyway, so so that was the whole thing. So I basically, when they were looking to flog off Legacy, I quit. And the Adelaide Crows random consultant they bring in to sell the shit off, because the board didn't want anything to do with it anymore, got pissed at me because he wanted to sell Legacy Esports with me in charge.
Yeah.
And the idea was what? Buy Legacy Esports, get MJ. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm not here to give you board return. I'm not here for you to get a capital gains. I'm out. And I quit. And I got a very salty phone call about how dare you hurt the brand. It's like, dude, I've made the fucking brand. You guys have profited.
So did you fall forward and be like, I am Legacy?
No, I never got to that level, but it was like you were literally, they were shopping around pitch decks with my face on it and my name. And I was like, without my permission.
Yeah, that's coming. That's shit.
Screw you. Like, that's what it is. So I stuck off, took a 6-month sabbatical. I'd always been good friends with Albert in the SIF, Naked. At Mindfreak. I had consulted with him behind the scenes, mediated, solved some problems. There's no beef like cod beef at that point of view. And he was basically at a point of, I want to have kids. I want to, pay off my mortgage, that sort of stuff. So he trusted me to take on the reins of Mindfreak, which I quickly learned that investors only screw your ability to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to keep this in-house. And basically, I've been running Mindfreak as the scholarship foundation for kids who play video games good, type stuff. And that's just been what we've been doing over the last 3 years.
I just imagine you as Ben Stiller now. I do, from Zoolander.
I am making the meme. I am provoking that comparison. But it is that. It's like I'm not trying to, like we had a few sponsors at Mindfreak and it just wasn't worth the effort. Like the sponsorship money they were giving me was a fraction of what you needed to serve the alleged requirements of the contract. So it was a negative sponsorship.
Yeah, it's like basically they're getting more out of you.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm technically paying you to have your logo on this sort of thing. So I said, screw it. I can fund it myself. I don't need to have any trouble. I don't need to worry about content. I don't need to worry about logo sponsorships. I don't worry about share of voice. I can just pay for this out of my own, business operations.
Yeah, you mentioned business knowledge and stuff like that as well. Like you said, Kanga obviously as well, like don't have the experience, in particular with business knowledge. I got the words wrong.
I don't start beef. Yeah, I'm sure they're fine in their own area, but their esports management hasn't exactly been littered with success.
Yeah, like what I mean, like, what's like sort of business knowledge announced that, you feel like a lot of teams, a lot of organizations should have, or some who do have it. Like, what skills and areas do like a lot of esports brands need to improve on or need?
It's even just basic business stuff, like write a business plan. And this is the thing, most people think, oh, you can write a business plan. And then they go to write a business plan and then it asks questions and they're like, and they hand wave over it. And the big one is, where's the money coming from? Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's the thing, like, where's your revenue source? What's going to grow revenue? What are the risks to revenue? What is the cost of goods of generating revenue? Mm-hmm. Now, for me, and again, I am very privileged. Okay, I'll say that up front. I'm really privileged. I have a fairly successful consultancy. We build power plants. That's pretty high ticket items. business is doing well. It gives me walking around money.
Yep.
Do I want to go sailing on a yacht? No. Do I like golf? No. Do I want to drink very expensive wines? No.
Aww.
What do I do? I like video games. I really like video games. I play video games. I don't get as much time these days, but I don't gamble, right?
Yeah.
But you know what gives you I imagine would give you a very similar rush as someone who doesn't gamble, is that when you're emotionally invested through money, through relationships with the players, through being part of their journey, through building through their process.
That's me with the Fremantle Dockers. That's with me with the Fremantle Dockers every day.
Exactly, right? But it's the emotional ride or die. It gives you a whole different experience to watching a game.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. And so esports for me is I want to say recreational, but it's not recreational.
Your relaxation zone, okay? We're going to use more Ben Stiller.
It's not even relaxation. It's my emotional journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're going to go to Happy Place, okay? Happy Place, Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore, go from Ben Stiller.
It's up, it's down, it goes everywhere, right? So it is a interesting place to do, but it means that I'm willing to put, without going into anything whatsoever, I'm able to put enough money that I can put teams overseas multiple times a year on the table, and I do that. Okay, and I can do that without loaning money, without building up credit cards. It's sustainable money that's there. So I'm safe. Am I ever going to be able to burn as much money as Order did? No, because that's fucking stupid. I'm not going to be able to... If I got to a point where I had sustainable revenue to be able to spend 7 figures a year because, I don't know, I'm stupidly successful gold plating power lines or something, I would probably do a little bit more of a diverse investment. I'd be looking at leagues, I'd be looking at grassroots. But the Mind Freak teams would be doing quite well out of that as well. So, but it would be something that would be a bit more structured in how I invested into it. And again, if I'm going to do something, I want it to work for 3 or 5 years. So one of the interesting things is that I've just ended a 3-year cycle. I acquired Mind Freak 3 years ago, and I'm having a bit of a sit down and think of what 2025 looks like. It's not going to be the same. I'm thinking about what is my goals. Is it going to be the most amount of international appearances? Is it going to be the most amount of international success? Is it going to be losing the most amount of players to international contracts, which is a success condition I have? Is very weird for other orgs, but like I've lost Bibian to, at the time, CLG. I've lost players to Overwatch. I've lost League of Legends players to the LCS and the next level down, the Challenger and their top league. I lost a whole Warzone most recently to Navi. This is good. This is what I want. I want to lose teams. I had there was a potential for, I don't know if you know Halo, but you know there's a kid called Barcode who is very, very good. Barcode was on a roster.
Did you guys have Rice as well? Like Rice at one point?
Yeah, no, I've got Rice at the moment. Rice is on the current team. But yeah, like Barcode was potentially on a Mind Freak team, but then Native Gaming said we have an American visa, come back to America, and we're like, go, man.
That's amazing, Alex, mate. Yeah, get that green card, mate. Get that green card, secure it, mate.
Yeah, I remember.
Get in before the war goes up.
After DreamHack Dallas, and I still love that trip because I paid for a boot camp to go over early, and we got over early enough that we were able to compete in the NA Open qualifier
I remember
for DreamHack Valencia. And they were like, "Oh, we'll just do it to be prac because all the best teams will be playing in it, so it'll at least be 2 or 3 scrims." And then we win the whole fucking thing. So we're the NA rep to Valencia, which is mint. Love it.
I remember the filming because I think it was Bibian hugged Eddie after they won that at the LAN center. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, so that was just one of those things where it was me paying for extra accommodation, paying for the LAN center, negotiating to get them in early, like doing all this sort of stuff. And now suddenly I got a second trip, which was just a huge ass problem, but it was a great huge ass problem to have.
Did you go to Valencia?
So I didn't get to go to Valencia. There was, again, COVID issues and health issues, so I didn't get to be able to go myself. I was in Dallas, which was great. But that team had some very specific management work that needed to be done. So it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And Valencia was so close. The whole Valencia trip, I won't go into, was an utter nightmare because of ESL screw-ups. That cost me $20,000-$30,000. I won't go into that. They made it right in the end, but that whole thing, and then one of the players caught COVID, and I had to pay for them to quarantine in a hotel in Paris for 2 weeks. And then ESL said, too bad, so sad. So they forfeited their airplane ticket, so I had to fly them home on my dime. Anyway, we've gotten off track.
Yeah.
But the point that I was going at is during that event, I remember on our way home, and Viv was like, she was kind of sheepish, like kind of, oh Michael, CLG approached me, and she's like, am I gonna get angry? Is Michael going to be upset? He's going to lose me? Like, because Viv's the captain, she was literally the core and heart of that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I'm going to go CLG, and I'm like, hell yes, let's go. Like I want to help you with the contract, and I want to make sure you get a good deal. But this is not a concern. Like, you're going to be on CLG. I'm not going to stand in the way. No buyout, no nothing. Let's just go. This is success. Not only have we stolen the Valencia event off the Yanks, but we're going to steal a spot on their premier team. And I'm like, this is 100% what I'm here for. And negotiate that contract. I added some key clauses in. We got a few things. CLG did a reasonably good job looking after them until they didn't. But
until they came to blacklist.
But it's the thing. But people like, I don't know. It's like, no. I'm weird. Please accept that I'm weird. That's how I work.
Yeah, okay.
And if I lose you to an international team, it's a thing. I had this as a standard thing with all of my teams. If you want to go to another Australian team, fuck you. There's no value. If you're roster shuffling to another Australian team, you're just wasting time. Okay, it's like grind where you are, learn the disciplines, learn to improve around. That's going to be more resistance for the muscles of your esports improvement. But if someone international wants to come along and pick you up, man, I'm popping the champagne and buying you the airplane ticket myself. Like if it's a genuinely new opportunity, I'm here for that. And I've got a dozen kids on international teams over the years that absolutely speaks to that's something that I've put my money behind. I have a little very private, very locked down folder in a Google Drive somewhere that has all the contracts for those players. And they have clauses in them that I literally got inserted myself, negotiations, dollars, advice, consulting, and that's my very private trophy haul that no one will ever see because it's literally a legal NDA minefield. But that's my trophies. I may not have trophies on a shelf. That's not what I'm here for. But I have managed, supported, and promoted players to the point that tier one brands want my players. Success. I'm happy with that.
It's like, we talked about it before. So like with newer esports org or people who are managing esports companies at the moment, what's the main pitfalls that you feel like a lot of these owners and managers fall into?
They think the money magically appears. That's 100% it. That's where it is. Everyone thinks that if I do this, there's money. Now, I think we've all just in the middle of, or maybe just emerging from esports winter, where everyone realized the money was never there. Okay, like everyone's like, I'll do a thing and then money will come. There were competent people. Like when I was in the Adelaide Crows era, the money was there. And that money was there because they were able to leverage very smart cross-sell between the football club and the esports. People were getting on board with that. The sales guy, Brad, is brilliant. Like absolutely brilliant.
What sort of stuff did they do, like in particular, like, that maybe orgs can use as well? Or is that the secret sauce that you're not going to reveal?
No, absolutely reveal it. You know how long it took Brad to land a six-figure contract? It took him 18 months of education. Okay, he spent 18 months teaching the marketing agent what video games were and how esports worked and where the fan base was and how things were. Took, absolutely forever. And he'd do all this work and they'd go sign with AV or they'd go sign with Chiefs. Okay, but the Adelaide Crows were there to grow things. And it hurt when they lost the deals, but they landed bigger deals. Okay, we had just for the high school league and Legacy Esports as a combined deal, the largest sponsorship deal outside of an ESL sponsorship was signed.
What was it?
And sorry?
Who was it with?
Intel
Okay.
at the time.
Yep.
So it was Intel, Harvey Norman, and
Oh shit.
one of those motherboard manufacturers I keep forgetting.
Asus?
Wasn't Gigabyte. Wasn't Asus.
Netgear's a router.
I can't remember it now. I'd have to look. There's a press release somewhere that you'll see it. That was a long-standing sort of picture. It took legwork. So this is where the problem goes. Like, where does the money come from? The money comes from building relationships, by establishing very core business opportunities, by building the time to build trust with all the people. Mm-hmm. So at the moment, if you're an esports org and you pop up and to say you're getting success, maybe you're winning, I don't know, maybe you get an international trip, no sponsor gives a shit, because they start their budget the year before.
Yeah.
So where are we now? We're in October. So there is no marketing company that is going to give you any cash at all
until next year.
Until July next year.
Yep.
Because what they have to do is spend this year's money, which was all decided beginning of the calendar year this year. They will then start to do their budgets maybe from January through to about April. The budgets will be locked in for the next financial year. They will then spend up their budgets that were decided a year ago, and then they'll start again. So you have to do that 18-month time frame just to get into their budget planning. Okay, and then budget planning, even if they put you in the budget planning, what they'll do is they'll go to their bosses and go, hey, if we spend 200,000 here or whatever else, we can get this. And the boss will go, I'm not sure. Not sure if I want to spend that money yet. Too new, don't understand it. And it doesn't happen. So you have to wait a whole nother 12-month cycle to the next budget. You have to fund yourself, stay alive, keep it all working or whatever else, keep the results going. And then it comes around to the next budget pitch cycle. Oh, yeah, they still around. Stability. Oh, they still performing. Stability. Oh, they seem to actually have a computer thing. Money magically appearing from somewhere. Then you get into their budget cycle, and then you got to think. And then because, again, Brad and the Adelaide Crow guys were so very good, is that like we had Samsung, and Samsung sponsorship grew 20 to 30% every year.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a 2 to 3 year deal before it all went south.
Yeah. So it's like
and that worked.
So it's like all basically like, get into that 18-month cycle, hang around for another 12 months, and just be consistent, be stable, and not look like a basket case.
Exactly. And I tell you now, name me a brand since 2021 that hasn't had some level of disturbance. Chiefs is fucked. They're a twice resold vanity brand. The whole Tainted Minds is /Icon /Chiefs resold once is fucked.
Yep.
Closest I can think of is Ground Zero in Rocket League is relatively stable, and they do okay. They afford their Rocket League.
No flaming WA people, okay? No flaming Ground Zero.
Bo, I get a lot of respect for Bo.
Bo's amazing.
He's one of the smarter guys, and he knows again not to overreach where he's at.
And not to mention as well, he got Jai Richardson on board from the Scorchers. That was pretty good.
And then didn't burn it all. He bought some. Burnt some of it, but he didn't burn all of it.
So he burned a quarter of it. Okay, did what the Joker does. Okay, burned half the money, but the half the money's still.
Oh no, he got involved with League of Legends. League of Legends is a bloody pitfall. People thought League of Legends was free money, but League of Legends has been nothing but a money pit since about 2019. And no one was smart enough to realize that.
But as you said before, it was just building relationships. So what did you do in particular to go to Samsung personally? Like, hey man, we got an esports business backed by the Crows, or did the Crows do most of that stuff?
Crows did most of the stuff. I was brought in as the subject matter expert, and he's our business. At the time, I was the business manager, and my job was to make sure things were done. Tim was doing most of the work at the Adelaide Crows. At that time, he was moving out of his playing phase into management phase. So Tim was doing more the day-to-day management. I was doing more business development, helping a lot out with the high school league, helping out with particular sponsorship engagements and that sort of setup. But it always took time. Look, having the Adelaide Crows in our back pocket really helped from a validity point of view. Adelaide Crows, who had a $20, $30 million sponsor book on the football side, rocks up and says, hey, do you want to add $100,000 onto your $15 million contract to sponsor esports scene? Is like, I guess. You mean I get all this sort of potentially I could be cool with the hip kid
Yep.
and do the video game shit, and it's only going to cost me a little bit amount. Like pitching $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 top up on a $10 million
It's like very easy, yeah.
Very easy, but then you need the Adelaide Crows in your back pocket. And so that was definitely a very privileged position to be in. That stuff could happen. But there were things where that didn't happen. So that was, without going into too much, that was Optus. Okay, like that sort of deal. Samsung wasn't that. Samsung never sponsored football.
Yep.
They wanted the video game. They sell fucking RAM and monitors and shit.
Yep.
So they didn't give a shit about the football team, and they didn't want to sponsor the football team. They wanted to sponsor the esports team, and the Adelaide Crows wasn't a benefit. That one was just legwork. That was building trust and selling them, good business development and that side of things.
How was that one different? Like, did the Adelaide Crows get involved, or was it just you getting involved, basically? Like, this is what we do.
No. Again, Brad Manuel, if you want to know, he's over at Livewire Gaming now. Very smart man. He did all of that. I was a supportive player. At this stage, they are operating at a sales level that is well beyond my capabilities. I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
Okay. I manage teams, and I say teams in the sense of, a development team and a finance team and an engineering team and operations.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's my day-to-day expertise. It means I can do quite well with a creative team and a League of Legends team and a Counter-Strike team, because a lot of those things and those people dynamics and those management of personalities and the business development around that and making sure they've got all the tools they need, that is in my forte. I think, I don't even know what my Twitter bio is, but it said once upon a time is I build things. Yep. It's either teams or it's power plants, whatever it is. I'm just a person who builds things. And that's always been where it's sort of at. So sales is not it, but I am good enough at sales that I can sell a power plant, and I was good enough at sales, and everyone else in esports is so bad, very bad. There is basically two people in the country that I know who are very good at sales, and Brad, who I've mentioned, who now runs Livewire, and the other one's Graham at ESL Australia.
Yep, you mean
those guys?
I think his last name.
Detroit.
That's right. Yeah, there we go.
Was he gaming for the weekend? Was that him at one stage?
I'm not sure. Like, I knew it was a Dutch last name. Like, it's do something. I'm like trying to remember it.
Yeah. Those two guys genuinely understand sales, and they understand sales in this space. And I've always had a standing employment offer that if Graham or Brad ever want to come work for me, just name your salary and your job description. So they're worth it.
So if ESO ANZ lay off Graham and you see that, are you just going to run up?
I would.
You run up and tackle him?
The very next plane, and I would kick down the front door of his house, and I would shove a contract in his face. No, some people are just genuinely good at what they do.
I was expecting a full tackle, like you just grab him down, nut your son that contract, mate.
Well, it's how would I put this? For my role as a CEO, if I was to use that title, it's about recognizing talent, and it's about enabling talent and acquiring talent. And so those sort of acquisitions, and there are certain people, I'm constantly interviewing people. I'm constantly talking to people. I'm having coffee with people. I'm having breakfast with people.
Am I being interviewed?
I was in a Saudi Arabian bloody hotel.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Interviewing people for acquisitions in both, for talent in both the esports and the private consulting space. If there's one thing I can do is hire the right people, and you're never perfect, but I have a very high hit rate for having good people work for me, and that's the secret to any sort of growth sort of setup. And again, I without ragging on anyone or even names that I pretty unfairly mentioned earlier, the number one thing you need to know is what you're shit at, and then don't do it. And then pay someone else to do it, and be good enough at what you do well that you can pay someone else to do it. And again, this is generic business stuff, but we don't see it in esports. We see all these one-man bands that think they can do everything until they can't, or they realize that they're doing 2/3 of it badly. The things that I would never do. Like, I would never tell a team, make this roster change or drop that person. That would be the fucking stupidest thing that I could ever get myself involved in. And so I'll have things where I think this personality might be a risk, or I don't think he will sell well with sponsors, or this guy has literally backstabbed and blown apart every team that he's ever been involved with for the last 4 teams. Maybe we don't want that here.
Maybe. Don't tell Virtus Pro that about Electronic.
No comment. No comment's a very useful phrase, Josh, I must say. So there's
I'll
things
be
like
quiet.
that. Yeah, but let good people do good work is where I'm at. Like in my day job, I'm hiring like 7 bloody roles at the moment, and we've just rejected like every resume thrown at us. I have.
Yep. Talk about the skills in particular. So you say you hire good people with good skills and whatnot. Like, what's a good soft skill across all those people in particular that you usually hire on?
It's a very hard thing to get because we as a civilization worship bastards, strong leadership bastards.
Yeah.
So like the Elon Musks and the Donald Trumps, they sell a story. They seem very convincing. They make very loud noises that sound very convincing. And it ties into something as a group consciousness that we just think they're a great leader. Now, they're the dumbest motherfuckers in the world who literally have fluked their way to where they are. But we're civilizationally weak to that strong character.
Yep, definitely, 100%.
Good or bad, right? It's just an observation on human sort of setup. They're useless in growing an organization. Okay, they're useless in leading a team because it's about them having so much mass that people follow them by sheer gravitational pull, right? Yep. That doesn't work when you're growing a team. It doesn't work in startup culture. It doesn't work in smaller setups because what you've got to be able to do is you've got to be able to sit down one-on-one. You've got to sit down 1-on-2, 1-on-3, 1-on-5, and you've got to convince them to do a thing. You go, okay, all right, guys, I want you to do this thing that hurts, okay? Why would we do something that hurts? Because I'm going to tell you that it means that you're going to get to a better place. There's a vision where something cool happens. Like you've always had this dream. And I go back to the beginning of my story where they said, hey, MJ would really like a gaming house. And I said, well, that's great. I can put some money in. I could probably arm wrestle a Seuss for some money, but I'm going to need you guys to potentially give up $10,000 of your prize money. And it's like, so you're going to lose money, but I can make the rest work. And they went, we want it that much, we're going to do that. So I instantly fall in love. If they're so desperate for the dream, and they believe that I can deliver the dream that they'll actually give up their money. I put in $40,000 of my own money. Okay, they don't even need to know that. Remember, I had zero ownership in Legacy, so every dollar I put in goes nowhere other than it got them to a great place. But what the trick was that I could inspire them. I could inspire trust. I could inspire a vision. I could inspire confidence. Those sort of things, which are very soft skills, right? And for me, I do it with a very blunt and transparent way. I'm like, trust me, I'm not the arsehole. And I've got a reasonable reputation now that people know I'm not the arsehole. Okay? People know that I try. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but people know I'm not the arsehole. So that inspiring trust, inspiring confidence, inspiring people, right, is the easiest way, because then people will go above and beyond. They will set themselves on fire. They will hurt themselves. They will deny themselves things. They will discipline them things, and they will become a better version of themselves. Okay? Some people are completely self-motivated. Some people are just, I'm on a fucking mission and I'm going there. And it's a really interesting example. Like, we just had FlyQuest win DreamHack Atlanta, right? And the whole story around Ali, you know, and it's like he's been playing dog shit. He knew he was playing dog shit. He tweeted that he's playing dog shit. But it was really interesting to me that he said that he used some of the resources internally at FlyQuest. So he's been speaking to a counsellor. He's been speaking to a psych. He's been getting his mental game sorted out, sort of shit. Now, whether or not we're happy to have that as an open conversation or not is a separate thing. But
I'm gonna say, MJ, I assumed he was going through that, given the amount of sheer bullshit that was directed at him.
Yeah, but there's one thing that I will say about Ali is that the guy is not here to fuck arachnids, right? Like he wants to be the best. He wants to do it, and he wasn't doing it. So his discipline, his willingness to put in the work, his willingness to be, and this was the best thing, to be honest, I'm sucking shit right now, you know, like, and to put in the extra effort mentally and to understand that there are dimensions of the game and the dimensions of performance that he's not doing well at, and to seek help and then to change and adapt and to take it on board. I don't need to inspire those people. I just need to roll the fucking red carpet and build a bridge and do everything I can to get those sort of people. So there are certain people, Viv's one of those, right? Viv was not hanging around. Viv was here to
definitely not.
absolutely take over the world. I didn't need to inspire Viv, okay? I needed to enable her. I needed to resource her. So there are different aspects that when you talk about soft skills in growing with a team, you need to know the talent that you're dealing with. You need to know the character that you're dealing with. You need to know their level of self-discipline, their level of self-motivation. For some people, you get out of their way and throw money at them. For some people, you have to convince them to rock up to scrims on time, you know, and
punctuality
you have to be
or
able
just
to,
yeah.
well, as I said, but like I've got a player that rocked up late to scrims, and the reason why he's rocked up late to scrims is because he had to work at his family's pizza shop type thing, and the reason why he had to work late was because like dad was sick in hospital, and they had to like keep the business afloat. Like he's late to scrims, he's fucking everyone around. It's a whole lot of problem. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, he's still alive, you know, and so sometimes you need to calm down the teammates. You know, we don't need to kick him because he's late. I know I know he's basically falling asleep in scrims because he's tired, but there's a lot of shit going in life. But you know what? He's going through all that and he still wants to prac. He still wants to come to scrims. You know, his life's on fucking fire and he wants to go. Boy, do I want to try and find a way to help him and ease that situation.
Yeah, and also I was going to say, I know someone thinks what you said, trust, inspirational stuff, but I think the willingness to have skin in the game. Like they were like, yeah, I'll get 10 grand for a gaming house. Already skin in the game. That's how you recognize a person's dead serious.
It's commitment and discipline. And that's always the number one motivational factor that I'll always have on they're a real player. It's how disciplined they are. How disciplined they are in other areas. How disciplined they are in schoolwork if they're in that sort of setup, uni, how disciplined they are at their job, how disciplined they are at cleaning their room. It sounds like really simple, dumb shit, but the type of person that has discipline in one area very likely has discipline in other areas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't look at my room. It is an absolute mess at the moment because I've been packing for packs. But yeah, because I was gonna say overall, that's, you know, you got Legacy. What was it like after Legacy, after you quit? Like, was it, you know, how was that sabbatical? Was it more like spiritual, trying to find where you want to go next? Okay,
very important context here. I live in Victoria and it was 2021. Okay, it was very fucked up in Victoria.
So going a sabbatical was just going outside.
It was more of a mental sabbatical rather than anything, that sort of point of view. And it wasn't even a sabbatical. It was probably more of a grieving period. What was probably one of the more successful things that I had been part of that was doing well because everyone was doing hard work was just being thrown down the toilet because of old dudes on a board who thought football needed to be focused on and any distractions was like, cool. Having legacy esports is why your players are saying racist epithets on field, my dude. Like, fuck off. Yeah. Like, it was just the dumbest, blinkered, short-sighted dumb shit. They took some of the greatest assemblage of talent in sports, entertainment, and commercialization and fucking flushed it. And it was like, you see dumb shit all the time. That one offended me because they had huge profits. Like before COVID, they had like an $8 million profit. They owned their stadium. They had some of the biggest fucking sponsor books in the country. They were branching out into business consulting for sports management and sports events sort of set up. They had recognized success. And then COVID happened. Okay, cool. COVID sucks. You know, you took a pretty heavy loss. Owning a stadium cost a lot of money when you couldn't sell tickets for it. That's hard. But you recognize that as short term. And then you go back to what was working. You don't flush the whole fucking thing down the drain because COVID happened. And I saw a lot of that. And I saw a lot of institutional stupidity because no one had the ability to think in like a 3-year time frame. It's like, oh, we need to do this next 6 months or this next 12 months if you're lucky. I'm always on 3 to 5 year time frames. Like, I'm an engineer that builds things that has to work for 25 years as a minimum. Long term is what matters. It's how civilization grows. And all of this short-term thinking, and whether it be in esports or the team, like, we lost that one qualifier or we're losing our scrims or something very short-term focused, it's the dumbest fucking shit. It's like, oh, this team isn't working out. Bloody Halo on launch year. It's like teams. It was like teams had a half-life of 6 days. I made a fucking family tree because it amused me on just how quickly, like every week, like 60% of the players swap teams. It was just fucked. But And the same thing from a business point of view. If you're looking for short term, if you think things are going to happen in 6 to 12 months, get out of the game. Go find something else to do. It's not built. You're not built for it. Like take that more longer term view, which again ties back to what I said earlier: discipline.
Yeah, definitely. Because I had during COVID in particular, as a financial advisor, of course, I had one client wanted to sell out all their shares. I'm going, guys, it's a short term period. The ASX is not going to be 5,000. Come once we open up again and stuff like that. And
we've all seen the stock charts, like, oh yeah, okay, there's the 2021, and then the line just kept going.
Yeah,
but how many people laid off staff? How many people cut back on things? And then we had this stupid period in 2022 where they realized they'd all fucked up, and they took all the money that they didn't lose because nothing was actually that bad. And then recruitment went stupid, inflation went stupid, everything just because people did the let's all shut everything down. Oh no, now we need to turn it all back on again. And it's just like dumb shit. But no one wants to stay the course.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not even thinking from a business point of view, but like clients wanted to sell out at 5,000. Like, bro, it's not going to get any lower because once the businesses open up again, they're going to realize we need more staff, we need more people when people are going to get employed, and business is going to make money again. And of course, now we get the ASX at 8,400 because what happened was basically US and the European fund managers, okay, so they use China as an emerging market. Now, China's going through this shitter because of their real estate, so they move all the emerging market money to Australia, which is determined to be an emerging market. So all the 6 stocks such as Wesfarmers, NAB, ANZ, Westpac, CBA, and Macquarie are trading at like 52-week highs.
We are just so stupid as a civilization, and I just see this stuff just played out everywhere. It's people just need to chill, and they really need to take a much more longer term view. Be it in esports, be it in business, be whatever else. It's improvement takes time. There is no moonshot that's happening. Like all that shit around NFTs and crypto stocks.
Shit. Oh my fucking god.
Wall Street bets and GameStop. It's like everyone wants to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
And you've heard the joke. It's like, I'm an overnight success. It just took 20 years. And that's the sort of thing that it's at. Legacy Esports got picked up by the Adelaide Crows because we did 3 years of managing our books and growing our sponsorships. Adelaide Crows grew it to be one of the most successful esports orgs over 3 years because they were extending a 10 to 15 year commercialization expertise that they had. Again.
And they also
lost it.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, and lost it because the board are fucking idiots and got all short term again and threw it all down the drain. But that I would say that 3 year cycle is an absolute minimum for anything to have any form of are you successful. If you think you're successful because you've made money on 6 to 12 months, it's probably fake, or you just rolled a 20 on the dice. Like there's nothing there that was actually you. Talent and quality demonstrates over time. The best players are the best players over time. I've had players that were really good or a team that won a split, and that was great, and then they never won again. I think probably still the best team in League of Legends in Australia was Direwolves. They had shit sponsorship because the commercials guys was dog shit, but that's separately. But the team stuck together. They had a fairly stable core, and they went internationally 4 times in 2 years and were probably the most successful Australian team. Chiefs had much better commercials, but their team was really only... They did what Chiefs normally do: pick the best players because they had money. That was always the Chiefs mechanic. But yeah, it's an interesting setup. At the moment, I'm just glad that I am beholden to no one but myself for where the money comes from and where the money goes, and that my focus on well-being and opportunities is a privilege that I can do, and I'm glad that I've had some success at it.
So with Mind Freak in particular, so obviously you went from the sabbatical, pretty grieving for Legacy just sinking into the fucking ocean. So with Mind Freak,
going into a kangaroo. They disappeared into a kangaroo pouch. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So with Mind Freak, what was that 3 year period of what you were planning for Mind Freak during that timeline?
I think at the time I was, again, post grief and a little bit frustrated. I just wanted to build it up again. But we were entering into a new period. So 2021 into 2022 into 2023, esports went off a cliff. Okay, and
How
far
so?
better.
What happened to esports going off the cliff? Like, how did that happen?
Oh, you're getting into more business stuff. All of esports was being funded by investment money. It was basically there was no revenue, there was no significant revenue growth. They weren't doing audience growth correctly. They weren't doing business development, and we were in a reasonably low interest rates period, so people were more interested in investing than leaving their money in the bank.
Gotcha.
And so the money was there, it was free, people were setting it on fire. You saw a couple of little, oh, we're running out of money, where's this return going to come from? And it mostly was there. That period ran for a long time. And then we hit that definitely. 21 into 22, and interest rates started going up, inflation started going up. Loaning money costs money. The cost of cash goes up. Investment evaporated in a period of 3 months, and every esports org essentially died on the spot. And I mean in North America, Europe, everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Mergers, sales to everything else. Australia evaporated. Order evaporated. The only long-standing brands that are in Australian esports, and by long-standing I mean Bliss, which has been around, 3 years?
Yep.
They're a florist business that's funding it. I'm a consultancy that's funding Mindfreak. Outside of that, even Fury's the guy doing it. Vertex is just Jamie's building industry funding it. Like, no one's got revenue in an org.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
So there's that's all gone now. There is no investor money. There is no significant sponsorships. Like Bliss has all of the congealed and remnants of sponsorships of Westfield. Is L'Oreal still around?
Maybe. I'm not sure actually. We have to get Brindy on.
Yeah, they've lost the battery one. Was it Energizer? They're gone, right? They've lost most of them. I think Westfield is still around. They've lost Marvel. I did see one that was back semi-recently. That was on their thing. But anyway, so Bliss technically have sponsors, but I'm telling you, for the cost they're spending, the sponsors are not covering it, and the rest of the business is 99% being funded by the florist from the floral industry. So it's so Mindfreak has essentially just battened down the hatches. That to the answer to your question. This is about, in this period where leagues are shutting down, where opportunities are sparse, what can I do to make opportunities? COD got shot in the head, but I've still got teams overseas multiple times. Halo withdrew multiple opportunity trips, withdrew a whole lot of travel support, removed our auto qualify for Worlds. So fuck it, we qualified for Worlds on our own skill, beating American teams.
So easy, mate. All those American noobs.
That's where the money went. It was in the face of publishers cutting back, in the face of publisher layoffs, in the face of loss of opportunities. My job is to make the opportunities myself, which has been female CS:GO boot camps, Warzone paying for rent in Montreal, all the stuff with COD, all the stuff with Halo, all the stuff with FGC. We've even got a flesh and blood cardboard player that we're supporting go to Worlds in Japan, because it's not even a video game, but it's someone with a dream that, doing really well and wants to grind. And doesn't need to be a video game, but it's the exact same process. It's sponsoring, it's providing opportunity, it's making a path.
Yeah, so it's overall making the opportunity happen while everyone's like, come on, give us opportunities. You're just like, nah, we're going to go here. We're going to make it happen. Okay, we're going to go straight to their doorstep and be like, we're here, mate.
It's a recognition of where the opportunities lie. I'm not going to go into Rocket League. Rocket League's fine. It's got Power. It's got Ground Zero. Who's the other? There's a third org running around. Did Bliss have Rocket?
Is this going to the areas where there's an opportunity to get and not 20 million people there?
There's no one else doing it. So at the moment, if I wasn't in COD, there would be zero COD. If I was in Halo, they would basically go over to get their shit kicked in by the Americans, because they would fly over, jet lagged, lose fairly quickly, go home, never qualify for anything. and wait for 343 to kill us as a region.
Uh-huh.
But we made worlds, top 16 in the world. Fuck you. We did that, and we qualified not through a free spot or a charity or anything else. We beat the teams to get there. And to get that, we had to perform at multiple majors. We had to accrue enough points. We had to be in contention. We had to be top 20 to even make the last chance qualifier. We had to win in the last chance qualifier. We fucking did it, and that's, but that took nearly 2.5 months of boot camps that I had to pay for every dollar of.
Jeez.
Okay, because that was the only thing to do. So I now roughly have an idea about what it costs to keep a team in America and what they need to be able to pick up meta, scrim strategy, understanding, to be able to actually, because they're not worse on the sticks than any other American guy. They just don't get to play it. The COD team went over. They didn't get as much. They only got about 2 weeks of a boot camp. They went into the S&D, which is, fairly Counter-Strike-like. Has very specific strategies, very specific ways of playing. It's not a respawn. It's you have 4 lives and it's over. And they got utterly rolled because the Americans have a very, very well-developed S&D strategy, a very big S&D meta. And we don't have that over here. We get maybe 2 teams that scrim and they're not thinking up cool S&D strats. They're not thinking up anything, So when Mindfreak COD, which is still good at the game, go to play S&D, are losing to the lowest ranked S&D teams just through lack of exposure to meta, which is a dumb thing. But we get on to the respawn sort of maps and we're winning maps and mixing it with the best of them. And so what's that tell me? Well, I need to put the COD team in America for 2 to 3 months so they can learn fucking S&D strats. But can they do it? Can they get time off work? Can they leave their girlfriends? Can they afford the time away? And that's a really hard thing to do. So one of the really big benefits of Halo is they had 4 kids who were like, we're sacrificing everything: school, girlfriends, lives, work. We really want to just focus on Halo, and I could put money behind them, and it paid off. They made worlds. COD couldn't sacrifice as much, and it's not bad that they couldn't sacrifice as much, but they couldn't get that exposure. They didn't do as well, and it's all really interesting data for me about what it means to be what does it actually take to take 4, let's just say they're equally skilled players in Australia, but actually make them, I don't know, at least as a competitive. Well, it's somewhere at the moment based on multiple data sets that you need more than 2 weeks. And you probably need something in the way of 2 to 3 months to really be immersed into becoming an authentic part of a community and understanding their strats and their meta and getting scrim time. And
so it's basically
how long would it take to be able to book scrims in an American system as an outside team? Because you can't get it in a week. You'd be lucky to get 1 scrim in 2 weeks. But if you're there for a month, then you can get scrims. I had the COD team in Toronto on a boot camp, and they had to scrim Mexican teams because none of the NA teams would book time with them.
Oh, jeez, that's pretty rough. I'd say overall, so this year in particular, just you learning about different scenes and whatnot, trying to get opportunities in it, and really give kids a chance to try and achieve their dreams. What does the next 3 years got in store for you for Mindfreak? Have you got that plan set up yet? What you're trying to do next?
That's where it's active discussion with myself and a few key people at the moment. I am trying to work out what the next 3 years look like. 3 years to me is a reasonable, all right, we've had a look at this strategy we've done. We've had success. Okay, 3 years of Mindfreak, and for my measure of success, we've had success. Go Mindfreak, go Michael, you've done good, right? But what do I do for the next 3 years? Is it more of the same? Could be. Is it more of the same? Do I incorporate an LLC in fucking New Jersey? I find an American director and start sponsoring P1 visas for Australian players. I can do that. It costs about a couple $100,000. Have to bribe a senator to get some immigration shit through. But, there's a path where I can, be a real pathway to North America with real visas, right? Because getting visas is really hard.
Oh, definitely.
But, maybe I just become a visa specialist and we rent a house in Atlanta, Georgia, in the center of America that's reasonably cost effective. And we run the Mindfreak NA gaming house and keep it constantly full of players, right? That's a strategy.
Kind of like what Endpoint do in Sheffield, basically. Like, do you like look at other orgs in particular that do this sort of stuff?
Constantly, from that point of view. And the other thing is maybe it's try and repair at home. Maybe I convince Mav to go start 2 10-week leagues where we do 3 nights. We restart ESL champs or something, but actually have it owned by the orgs and actually have more of a cooperative focus where if we get sponsorship, it goes to the orgs owners, AFL commission style or something, like actually have the league.
Yeah, like the waffle. Yeah.
Yeah, have the league pay orgs so the orgs can pay players so that we have a more commercial business development. Maybe I run fucking business school for esports org owners so they stop wasting fucking money and time or something. Like, there's just a lot of options that I have. And there's only so much time. So for the rest of this calendar year, it's weighing up things. I am advancing slowly and in small ways on multiple fronts. You may have seen that there's a few things I've been doing with Mav around the edges. I implicitly behind the scenes, very discreetly fund things that I won't talk about because you don't need to know it. I'm happy to be a silent investor or a dark investor on a number of things. I'm just here I like video games and I like Australians being good at video games.
Oh, me too.
And I want the same level of success that we get in the Olympics, in the cricket, in the rugby, in anything to do where we're seen as a legitimate world contender.
Yep.
I want Australia to be that exact same thing in esports.
Yeah, exactly.
In whatever titles that we can, because there's nothing wrong with Australian fingers or Australian judgment or Australian capabilities.
Or competitiveness.
It's just where we put resources. And the Australian Institutes of Sport don't give a shit about video games. The Australian government doesn't give a shit about this sort of setup. So I've got to find
people who do.
The EmJaeCaer Institute of Sport or something and work out with it because we can do this. I absolutely believe. Like I see here that Bowser's in chat. Now, I absolutely fuck you, Eddie, for beating the team in the call recently for Extremes Land. But I have a lot of respect for Eddie. Like, that is probably one of the most underappreciated brains in Australian CS. Guy knows his stuff, and he has been able to put team together year after year, qualify after qual, and just absolutely can compete at the highest level. And it's because he's very good. And I can tell you because I've seen him literally take the female CSGO team all the way through. Eddie needs to be coaching international team, and no one will ever know about him here.
Yeah, I was going to say he should be coaching international team. Like, there's this team's like struggling for international coaches, and I'm like, mate, Eddie is right. They were telling Brewster, I'm like, Eddie, he's been on your team before. He knows how you guys work, okay?
No one. I still don't know whether Eddie shit talks or like, he doesn't. I think Eddie's very nice and polite and absolutely fine. But I'm still utterly confused why he's not respected as a very intelligent mind in CS. Guy keeps winning shit. At some point, people are going to work out who the brains are behind the plans of everything.
Sorry. I come from the Na'Vi school of flukes, so I'm a certified fluke, mate.
So, but that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't even have to be players. I have spoken to coaches that have gone to Europe in League of Legends and in other sort of things. Not that I'd say this, I know he's sitting there listening to me in chat right now. But I would absolutely, if Eddie had a chance to go coach something like a good tier 2 European team, I'd put money to that. Okay, like I have put money to some very interesting locations. My money has, without going into any shit talking or people letting down their teams, my money's gone to a WoW Arena team because another org left them high and dry.
Which one was it? Do you support any of the MDI teams? Because there's an Australian, there's
an Australian team that was in North America, but they had been abandoned by their org, and
I know now. Yep, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
quietly stepped in. There was a PUBG team where, again, Dark sponsored, and I have a lovely pair of tracksuit pants with the team logo that no one else owns.
That team you're talking about, I met them at BlizzCon. So yeah.
So there are things that I do that it doesn't need to be a Mind Freak brand. It doesn't need to be a player. It doesn't even need to be a video game. Flesh and Blood example previously done. Yep. I am just here for Australian players, Australian dreamers, and trying to do my best to enable dreams. So it's an interesting sort of setup. I have to be very discreet. This is probably more than I've shared ever before, so you better be careful with this video, Mr. Only Josh and TV.
That's gone live and it's on YouTube right now.
So this is what I enjoy doing, and I'm glad I have the privilege to be able to do what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, no, like I say, you've worked a very good business, obviously. Your power plant business or whatever it is, being an engineer has done really, really well. Um, and I do want to help people out as well. I've helped people out from time to time. I'd be very discreet about it. Obviously, can be. I have a big mouth. That's my biggest weakness. I know that, and I keep fucking using it over and over again. But
I've been very much appreciating you that I can actually watch some CS that
Yeah.
involves my team. Is it ECL? Is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah, it's ECL. It's ESL Challenger League.
Yeah. So how did that shake out? Because didn't we finish up a whole lot of games tonight?
Yeah, we did. So there's only one team. There's only one games left. Mindfreak's confirmed second because FlyQuest forfeited against you guys. So you guys confirmed second. So you'll verse either Rooster potentially. Oh, no, actually, no. Rooster lost a game, so you won't be versing them. You'll be versing.
Is it 47 at the moment?
It's 48. It'll be Art of War regardless because Art of War 1, 2.
God damn.
Yep, and the winner of that may get an ESL Pro League spot because obviously.
Oh yeah, because auto qualify. Is that actually happening? Because there seems to be a few asterisks about even if Pro League's going to run in the same format.
That's why I was going to say that as well. I was going to say caveat there as well. I'm not sure if ESL Pro League's going to fund the same format because Sponge's entire tweet seemed like an X interview. It's like, I hope you gave smiles to some people and whatnot. I'm like, mate, is this a funeral or something? Because that's what it sounded like.
Can't believe we fucking dropped a map to DXA. Fuck you, Chris.
Yeah, mate, it was probably James. James probably got like 30 kills on a map and just shat on your team. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Look, I've liked the Mindfreak CS team is about where I want it to be, which is the gatekeepers between the wannabes and the genuinely good.
I was wondering. Okay, now I know why you picked up Ricky and Texter.
No, look,
I've always wondered that. I've said, I'm like, why did you pick him up and let Slimy and Super go? But I gotta give you a funny joke.
Remember how I said earlier in the night that I do not make roster decisions and I do not make directions on rosters?
Yeah.
I refer you to my earlier comment.
Okay, all good. No, but it's a funny thing. MJ, you're gonna love this so much. Rooster picked up all the people, tried to pick up all the people that left Mindfreak.
I watched the boys, okay? So Slimy, Super, all the guys,
Danger,
Danger. I won't see their names, and I am slightly sad because I like the developing talent. I like that we're doing. There's been a whole bunch of reasons. Again, I don't make roster decisions. This is not what I do.
I had a question from ASAP and he's saying, can you lend them Gump for a bit?
The way that he played versus
he's amazing.
Qualifier, and I'm trying to remember. He had so many good maps during that qualifier. Yeah, it was the Gump show on repeat. I'm
trying to think of the. I remember one of the teams that they versed in the series, but I remember Guag telling me ages ago. He's like, "Good save, Gump." Good save, Gump. And I'm sitting there going like, every time Gump saves a round from fucking potential, fuck ups and whatnot. I'm just sitting there going like, man, this guy can single-handedly go from round being in the fucking meat grinder to round one kind of thing. Like, you get the ball over the line.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I had a really good weekend last weekend. I was at the Halo World Championships watching the boys play against the very best. It was great. Look, we were the 16th seed in a 16-team comp, so we went about as well as you could expect.
So you won the entire tournament.
Definitely. Yeah, as long as we're called Space Station Gaming, we won everything. But we were playing against Space Station Gaming. Like, the boys were good enough to be there to contend with the best, and that's a win in and of itself.
Definitely.
But at the same time, I'm watching DreamHack Atlanta in local time, which was amazing, and watching FlyQuest just stomp the way through. And then on the final day in the airport lounge, I'm watching the cast of Mindfreak in their games. And I can't believe we lost to you, Eddie. We shouldn't have lost to you. So I'm disappointed with that. But all respect, Eddie is a high-level competitor and needs far more respect on his name.
He gets a lot of respect on his name. I think everyone talks incredibly highly about him in the talent in particular. You never get any bad words said about him in particular. And
Oh
also,
no, Eddie's a bro. That's
yeah,
the thing. But he doesn't seem like, I remember trying to talk to him about coaching. He's like, no, I still want to be a player. Like I still want to grind and be like a legitimately international CS player. And I'm like, look, you're good enough. Like you can do it, and absolutely. And his time on Rooster definitely speaks to that. But the guy's got a brain that deserves to have a six-figure coaching salary and an EU team underneath him. And I hope one day that happens.
So which EU team are we going to get? You know, which coach do we kick out?
Look, I'd be happy for him to grab one of those Eastern European grinders because I think that he could definitely bring value to almost anything. He's got
get him to bet boom. Okay, they need a good coach. Eddie, get him in there. They've got good players.
Yeah, you know, look, there's an aspect around that where I think that could happen. And you know, look, maybe one day it will. There are a number of people. There are a number of people in a variety of games, in a variety of scenes, and things that are like that, where it looks like their only sin is that they were born in Australia. Australia is an amazing country, lucky country. Glad that you're here, but they are genuine talent. That there's a you know, Jake Spawn Tiberi.
Yeah, he's where is he now?
So he's coaching Liquid at the League of Legends team. But that guy's got 2 kids at home and a wife that he doesn't see for 6 months a year. Like the absolute toll upon him to do that.
You have Anders as well. Same thing. He's casting. He's got fucking kids too.
Yeah, and it's like he's good enough to literally coach a League of Legends team to Worlds and beat and play with some of the best, right? Like he's absolutely, you know, very good at what he does. I don't think they had a particularly great run just very recently, but everything before that has been absolutely stellar. But he's sacrificing his entire family happiness. He's sacrificing being a dad to his kids. He's sacrificing only just to be the best. Now, if he lived in England, he'd be
laughing
6 hours from his kids. You know, like he'd go home on weekends without a thing. At the moment, to go home is 20 hours of travel one way on where you're there competing every week. So that means that he can maybe get home 2 weeks between a split, then he's got to go away for 10 weeks again because you can't get away for a week when it's a 4-day round trip just in the air. It's just like the sheer toll of the geographical challenge, as they say in the thing, means that some of our best and brightest minds who are legitimately proven their best just never get to compete unfettered. They never get an open run. And that's the biggest fucking shame.
Do you, like, and that's what you're trying to beat, basically. You know, with a lot of your teams and whatnot. You get to the world stage, they show their best, and then hopefully someone snaps them up. So that place there, they don't have to rely on the 4 fucking round a day trip. They're there, they can compete, and they can blossom basically, and make sure they're well protected as well to make sure they're not getting asked in the contract because you know. These people have no idea what contract law and have no idea what shouldn't be in a contract and what should be in a contract.
Oh, I've had some fun with contracts.
I can imagine. I can imagine some of the things being like, bro, we have statutes against us.
I will say this because there was an NDA signed that a very recent contract signing of a team that was formerly Mindfreak, so you can all guess what this is, but I will confirm or deny no names.
Was
probably one of the best contracts I've ever seen.
So it
was very player. It was very player respectful. It was very focused, and it was okay. This is an org that really understands that players are their resource, and they're providing non-exploitative contracts. I didn't change a damn thing in that contract. I didn't need to. I was very genuinely impressed. I didn't know what to expect from an Eastern European-based org. But it was.
I'm trying to figure out who it is. 4 letters. Does it 4 letters? Is it Noden?
And again, they're not generous. They're not pushovers. They're not things. They negotiated a hard contract, and it was an arm wrestle. But there was none of the bullshit or the exploitation in the contract, and it was just amazing to see. Wow, a tier 1 org, that's great. And I've dealt with tier 1 orgs in NA and what I was saying, where it's like, what? You want to get... Are you fucking kidding me? and it was in like some of the ones are good. Like again, a potential female player that signed a contract, and I was like, I want X, I want Y, I want Z, and they went, oh, okay, because I said. Like, I don't understand how American health insurance works. It's a whole fucked system over there.
Yeah.
So I literally went to the person I was negotiating with and said, what health insurance are you on? Oh, I'm on this one. Why? Oh, because it works for me. Cool. People have one of those, please. You know, that's the setup. And then I was like arguing, I want you to find an IRS aware tax consultant who understands international earnings, right? You know, like, and I want you to give them 6 hours of tax consulting time on what earning salary in NA will mean, how they don't get in trouble with the IRS, how they handle the double taxation treaty. I want you to put that in the contract. Like, you want me to do what? Yes, get them a fucking tax consultant. And like, oh, okay, sure. You know, like, this is the stuff that I
exactly that they need, because, like, seriously, like, you need an accountant, you need. Oh, I gotta say, you need a financial advisor. Trying to give my occupation a bit of a slip here, but you definitely need an accountant, because, like, especially if you're half, you know, if you're 240 days in Australia, you're still an Australian resident. You might have to pay tax. Like, you do have to like consider these things in particular, and also not to mention as well, like, what sort of tax do you pay if you have something in Australia still and stuff like that? You just definitely need that.
You done your W8B and E form with Twitch recently, Joe?
Yes. And they
you ever read one of those? You ever read the tax advice that goes with them, or the American legislation that informs it, or the Australian Double Taxation Protection Treaty between the United States of America and the Federation of Australia? Have you ever read any of this shit? Because I have.
Yeah, I've read. You know, the funny thing is, Twitch still fucking get it wrong. They don't give you my 15% tax. They don't give. They withhold 30%. I know you withhold 15%. You give it to me.
I don't need to withhold anything. There's no withholding required.
No, they withhold 15% because I do financial advising and whatnot. We always claim that 15% back on our super funds because they withheld 15%. It's like they usually withhold 30%, but they cut it in half. It's dumb.
Look, I've had players who didn't even have a tax file number. I'll ask you a question for you, right? When you were in like year 10, 11, or 12, did your high school work through having you apply for a TFN? Mine did as well, like back in the 90s. When were you in year 10, Josh?
Oh, back in the times, hang on 2 seconds. 2005.
Yeah, all right. So at high school, you filled in the form, you got a TFN, it wasn't hard. These days, you can go on the website, you can fill it in, you got your birth certificate, it's done. I've had multiple esports players in their early 20s without a TFN.
Oh, shit.
Okay? I've had to deal with all sorts of issues. I think New South Wales didn't, which I found strange. Victoria did. I presume you're from WA, so it sounds like they did as well. So, but...
Yeah, they wanted to get me into the iron ore mines, mate.
I've had to like apply for birth certificates and get birth certificates back, and then turn that to get into a proof of ID card, to turn that to get into a passport, so that I can just get them out of the fucking country.
I've been through the entire process because my parents were made citizens, but I was determined to be a citizen by birth, okay, because they were permanent residents when I was born, but I didn't have a citizenship certificate, and my passport expired. So I only had my birth certificate. So I had to apply to the government to get a citizenship. Then to get the pass, it was... I've been through what you've been through, basically. It's fucking crazy.
Because I never have the problem. I'm boring. I have to do it for like...
Yeah.
Like there was a time when we had a player that was literally about to travel on the weekend, and they put their passport through the laundry and it fell apart.
Oh,
so
no.
No $1,400 same-day passport. You can pay. Well, they work, is what I can say. So look, managing players has been a unique challenge, but one that I've enjoyed. And there has been a very wide cornucopia of experiences that I've gone through, but I've loved every part of it.
What is your best experience with? I don't actually know. What's the best experience that you've had in like lifting players up to their potential overseas? You know, what's your grand, like, you know, the star on the Christmas tree, let's put it that way?
It's not really one. It's like asking you for your favorite children. So I don't have a favorite child, but there's one particular experience that I do just enjoy, and it's more for fun, right? So StarCraft, you should know Sean Probe Kempen. from that point of view. And Eddie, I've already mentioned stealing North America's qualifying spot for Valencia.
Yeah, we already got that. Yeah,
we'll take that as read. But he was very good at the StarCraft, and he didn't win everything, but he won enough. But there was one that he got, which is he won if you remember, it was Pyongyang in South Korea, the Winter Olympics, and they actually did esports as a demonstration sport at the Winter Olympics. And we sent Team Australia. He has a legitimate Olympic uniform for Team Australia.
Jeez.
And he played StarCraft for Australia at the Winter Olympics in Pyongyang. Sounds wrong. What is it?
Sure.
Where was the
in Korea?
Winter? It was in South Korea.
I'd say it's Seoul, but Seoul was the
Olympic Esports Series. Is that it?
Pyeongchang, not Pyongyang, but Pyeongchang. Yeah, you got it right. You said the capital of North Korea, mate.
Yeah, no, it sounded wrong, which is why that sort of thing. And so it was just really cool in the sense that the first technical Australian esports Olympian was at the time a legacy esports player in StarCraft. And I had to navigate a whole lot of shit because we weren't allowed to, because again, the commercialization, the presentation of sponsors, everything was tightly controlled because it was the fucking Olympics.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And it was good. And how to put it, in my mind, it was better than all the dumb shit that we know the Olympics is going to do.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know it's going to happen. Yep.
Yeah, but that one felt to be probably the first real, in my mind, Olympic esports sort of thing. And it was really cool to have one of my players there. So it's just one of those little bits of history that no one will remember and no one will really, rate it for anything. But we had a player. There it is. I found the website for, it was technically an IEM, I think.
Okay.
Put that into chat. I'm
trying to think.
Yeah,
let's see that. How well did he go in it in the end?
Look, it's bloody StarCraft, man. If you're not Korean, you're not good.
yeah, pretty much. I remember the first time when Jinro was the first non-Korean player to make it to a quarterfinals and the semifinals. And now we have Cyril, who's the first person not from Korea to win anything in StarCraft.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of things, even though we never beat Virtus Pro, making 10 rounds on Virtus Pro back in the Animal Squad setup. I remember Smite finally not coming second and beating what was the best team for the first time in 5 seasons. I remember the time that we were involved in a final series and we were the best team. And Sin Gaming with Juves beat Chiefs, and it meant Chiefs didn't go to Vietnam or didn't go to Rift Rivals. And it was good just to see those blue bastards get their comeuppance. The Halo boys just recently legitimately playing their way through to Worlds without a free spot and having to do it the hard way. I've mentioned the female players. I've mentioned IEM Sydney, where we beat Tainted Mind. It's a litany of players' successes where they put in the hard work, and I was behind the scenes, off stage, off to the side, just doing my little bit to help out. There's just so much of it. I really couldn't say that one thing was better than any of the others.
What was the most funniest thing that's ever happened? Because you talked about all these crazy passport stories and whatnot. What's the most memorable and funniest moments that you've done for a player?
Funny.
We got the passport in the laundry, trying to get a same-day passport.
Yeah, that was all stress. You gotta remember, at the time, I am sweating fucking blood to make this shit happen. Try taking players to events in the middle of COVID. I traveled around with inches of paper printed out for vaccine certificates and passport histories and visas. And it was all a lot of stress. It was worthwhile, but boy, it was a lot of stress. Funny. What was a funny event? Honestly, nothing comes to mind off the top of my head.
I guess what's the during the COVID period in particular, what was the biggest challenge? Obviously, you had the paperwork and whatnot. Was that just the biggest challenge of it all, having everyone's vaccine paperwork and whatnot?
I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'll admit to breaking the law here. We took the COD team over to
Yep.
Minnesota, I think it was, the Minnesota Major.
Yep.
And it was all tests, and it was all things like you had to get the PCR in exactly the right window. So you had to go to the test within 48 hours, and you had to get the result back, and the result had to be written out on paper. And I had to do it for a bunch of fucking 20-year-olds who all sorts of stress and whatever else. And I get all the tests done, and we get over to America, and it's fine, and they do okay, and we're on our way out. We have to get a test to get back into Australia. You have to go onto the website, fill in the pre-declaration, and you had to have this test. You had to have the certificate, and we had to get a test. It was just rat test, I think. Get the rat test, and we get there, and the players, just one of the players who we've been with the entire time, he doesn't get a positive test. He doesn't get a negative test.
Oh shit!
The result is error or inconclusive.
No.
I'm like, the fuck? And I'm like, we are 47 minutes from boarding, and I don't have a document that gets him in the country. So one professional edition of Adobe Acrobat PDF editor later.
Big brain plays, okay?
We had 6 documents that all said that none of them had COVID, and we got on our plane and we got through the border in Australia. Because tell me, how the fuck is Australian Borders and Customs going to know the result of a fucking rat test of a private vendor on St. Paul Airport in the middle of fucking nowhere?
Exactly.
And pretty sure he didn't have COVID. He wasn't sick when he got home anyway. But yeah, that was a little bit of I wonder what the statute of limitations on violating border protection is.
I'm not sure, but either way, that part will stay forever, but they will never find out until after the statute of limitations. But anyways, yeah, like I say, that's a pretty crazy adventure, and I think we're gonna leave it there, to be honest, because like I say, you've done a ton for players, and I think you're gonna do a lot more for players as well, because this is like basically you're only not starting your journey, you're midway through it basically, or even a quarter way through it. But jeez, man, like I'm impressed.
It's a choice that I have that, again, I have privilege, I have a reasonable amount of resources, and I'm just not interested in a yacht or a golf or front seat to the tennis or who the fuck wants he spend money on. And I just want to do something with it. And I feel, to me, for my personal conscience, for my personal ethics, if you have resources, you should be accountable for them. You should do something with it. I'm not saying I'm rich or whatever else. I'm definitely reasonably resourced and comfortable. But you need to be honest with your money. And it's one of the things, like, I find things like 100 billionaires to be just so fucking stupid. Like, what are you going to do with $100 billion? You could literally set $1 million on fire on your lawn every morning for the next decade and actually still have more money than when you started.
Yep.
Like, it's just an obscene amount of money. So here's my thing. Okay, you have $100 billion. Show me $100 billion worth of good. Show me $100 billion worth of worth. Show me $100 billion worth of benefit to anything. And you almost couldn't. Like, you literally could not use $100 billion in any sane way. Like, Bill Gates is literally trying to eradicate malaria, or like he's trying really, really, really big shit. And he's still going to have to give money away, right? And then you got absolute fuckwits that you all know who I'm talking about, who just want to be the biggest douchebags, and their arrogance and their ego means that all that's going to happen with that money is that every bad impulse they have is going to have a lot of weight behind it, which is very fucking dumb. If you've got capabilities, if you've got opportunities, do something with it. Don't. Anyway, I'm getting off into a personal rant. I'll leave it there. To me, I have a reasonable amount of resource and comfort, and for my conscience, I need to do something with it. So I don't want any outcome. I just feel that this is my tax to the universe. This is what you should do for whatever definition of good that you want to adhere to. I have a personal faith. I follow that for my own conscience and what I do with it. And that means that I do my best to look after people, and that's just going to be what I continue to do.
Yeah, does MJC have a Twitter? Does he have a Twitter? But MJ does indeed have a Twitter, by the way, Connie. And
it's literally just what you typed into chat.
Yeah, okay.
Which you didn't ask me the story of that, but we will cover that another day. Maybe we can do another setup.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna say, is it because MJ and your last name? Is that pretty much it? Am I getting on the right topic?
Really, really, really quickly, when I was that whole legacy thing, I went into Antrin's Twitch stream, and I didn't want him to know it was me, but I was kind of stalking him to see what sort of person he was. Yeah. And so I invented this name because it looked weird and foreign. And it was semi-Irish Gaelic sort of derivation sort of thing. But if I wanted to say it was me, I could, because it'd be, that's my initials and I could prove it. But I didn't want him to know it was me at the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, he did a spectator giveaway with like 40 people and I fucking won it. So I had to turn down the prize. It was just weird shit. So it was literally a name I invented in a Twitch chat so I could stalk someone to make sure they weren't a shithead. That's what I came up with. The actual derivation, it was my first username for my first IT job when I first enrolled, and it was just the letter M, letter J, CAR, which is first initial, middle initial, first three letters of my surname because corporate. And that is that. And I've just come to like it because it's where a lot of the journey started, which is that. So it is what it is. Story you didn't need to hear.
That's pretty good, man. I enjoyed that story, actually. It's a really, really good one. It's like, I thought it was just your initials, basically, as well, and you just basically...
It's my initials, but it's me hiding it's my initials.
Yeah, like
so now I'm known for this more than anything else.
You put it as your pronunciation. It's like MJ, Michael, obviously, CEO, like, stuff like that. So anyways, that's going to be it for today. That's going to be, I'm not sure, part 1, part 2, like, part 1 out of what? Because you're going to do a lot more in the future as well.
I paid for my sins.
Well, you haven't paid for any sins. You've paid so much blessings and stuff like that for people. Like, you had the Animal Squad. I never heard of them in particular as well. Like, that legacy part. Obviously, I think they've got... Was that post-Winter Fox or pre-Winter Fox? And they got picked up by the NA org.
Oh, that's years apart.
Yeah,
years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was 3 years later, I think. That was... Yeah, a long story that I'll cover in a very specific CS history podcast one day.
Anyways, thanks for coming on, dude. And hope everyone has a good night for listening as well. Thanks for everyone who joined in today. Really, really appreciate it. This episode will be on YouTube very, very quickly. As soon as I get to Melbourne, probably. I'll probably edit it and put it in.
You'll have to let me buy you a beer at PAX or a PAX-related event.
Just buy me a Coke Zero. I don't drink.
Good. Good for you. That is.